Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fallout Bar after day 13 of the Paddy Power World Darts Championship and the last day of darts for 2024. As ever, joined by Callan Evans at the bottom. I think that little box with his face in it has basically ingrained itself onto my MacBook at this point because it's been there every single night. But we have a special guest tonight, and it's not Jack Garwood, which is good for everyone watching. You might get a bit of sense for once. But Anthony Eugenia, Chief Operating Officer and Tournament Director of the CDC. How are you, Anthony?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I first and foremost want to thank, from the dart fan standpoint, yourself, Cam, and Carwin for being on this each and every night, and of course Jack and Dan Simpson and the whole entire crew. But you two guys have been doing the heavy lifting for this, and as a fan, it's really great to have a place to come right after the matches to congregate, to discuss, and be in the chat. So thank you boys very much for doing the show and having me.
No problem at all. Thank you for being in there. I noticed you were the first one in the chat room today as well. Even before I got a chance to log in, you were already in there, which we love to see. Obviously, everyone else, loads of people in the chat room already. So I'll throw up as many of you as I can as we go along. Get involved. If you do want to get involved, you do have to subscribe. So drop us a like, drop us a subscribe, and then we'll let you comment. Because other than that, we're a bit strict that way, and we don't let anyone else get involved. Carwin, as ever, you're with me as well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Despite the obvious result going the wrong way today, it's been another great day of that, and I think we've been treated to a few spectacles today. And I think for me, I saw one of the performances of the tournament this evening, and it's just what a way to finish 2024. It's been a year of unpredictability, and whilst maybe today we've not had unpredictable winners, we've certainly had a few maybe unpredictable score lines to end the year off.
Yeah, like you say, it has been that year of absolute just anything could happen, really. And sort of, I feel like since Christmas, this tournament has really gone to another level. Like, we've just seen unbelievable matches every day almost, Anthony.
It's had a real strange feel to it. With the amount of seeds that have been knocked out, it's got a real curious feel to it. It doesn't feel like it has a classic feel to it, but an interesting storyline nonetheless.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll get sort of straight into it today and kick off at sort of Dan Simpson corner. We'll start out with the lads from the Northeast starting us off. We started off with Chris Dobey up against Kevin Doets. Now, this one was just a real battle again. Like, maybe not sort of what we've potentially seen from some of them at times in terms of the averages, but what we saw was just a real close-fought, hard-fought battle that to the end, you still had no idea who was going to win this one.
No, that was exactly it, wasn't it? And we all know Dobey is a heavy scorer, he's a prolific scorer, but his doubles let him down. And once again today, he's sort of just above the 25% mark. And if he can up that double percentage, he breezes through most of the games he's played in this tournament. He's making it difficult on himself because of his outer ring troubles. But what he knows how to do is win a game. He knows he's not the best double hitter in world darts. He'd probably admit that himself. But what he
struggled to claim anything different after missing 45 of them today.
That's the thing, isn't it? As in, I miss 45 in a leg, and it's normal. He misses 45 in a match, and we crucify him. But you know what? As in, it doesn't seem to affect his scoring, and whilst it doesn't affect his scoring, he's got a chance to go deep. As in, in Doets is a tricky opponent who we've seen. He's knocked out Michael Smith. He's knocked out Ratajski. He's not afraid to come up against higher ranked players, and Dobey will be relieved to sort of get through and keep the dream alive of becoming a world champion.
Yeah, and like I say, it is just about winning games, and even when you're not at your best on the outer ring, getting over the line is the biggest thing. And when you're playing someone like Kevin Doets, we've mentioned enough times this week how big his testicles are, but when it comes down to it at the end, he has been there every time, and he's been the one that's upped it. For Dobey to sort of outlast him, he stands him in good stead going forward, Anthony.
To me, like in a day that turned out to be topsy-turvy, matches that you thought were going to be tight were one-sided, and then the matches that potentially really could have been blowouts were extremely tight. This one, I think everybody pegged to be pretty close, and it didn't disappoint. Obviously, going the full way. Early on, it felt like to me, Dobey, even though a young man, he's the more seasoned player. And that's how it felt early. Just a little bit that, hey, I'm just a step ahead of you from Doets' standpoint in this feeling, in this place. I've been now his third quarterfinals, I believe, right? Third straight quarters appearance. So that's how it felt early. But Doets is he's just impressing each and every time we get to see him in big spots. So it's sort of, he feels like the next guy in the pipeline to sort of make that little breakthrough in 2025. You'll see him make those semifinal appearances and maybe get the odd Pro Tour win, right?
Yeah, I feel like you're right with that. I think he's showing that he's got he's got everything he needs for the big occasion, and it's about him getting there. And obviously, the run to here has done him wonders in terms of moving him up the rankings. He's obviously jumped 10 places this week as it is. And it just gives him that opportunity to kick on and get himself into these events more and give himself that sort of opportunity more to show what he's got. And the more he does it, there's still a lot of wild darts in there. There's still a lot that are a long way from the target at times. But he's going to improve for that. And the more he's up there, the better he's going to get. All in all, though, this will be really impressive. I think just for me, we'll probably say this a couple of times tonight as we go along, but it's just about winning games at this point. It's nothing else really matters. It's about still being in that draw every round, and he's still there. He's got a great opportunity to kick on now, and like I say, he's made, I think it's 4 straight quarterfinals now after today. Like, it's now time to take that next step and see whether he can go and do some more.
Yeah, concur. He, like you said, he's got that ability to just learn how to win games, even not at his best. And I know maybe we'll do a little predictions later. I don't think the winning is done for Chris Dobey.
No, I think you're right as well. I think I might well be with you on that one. We did hear from Chris Dobey after this, so as always, full interviews will be on the YouTube. They'll probably all up there now, except for maybe Luke, which will be up there very shortly. We'll have a little excerpt from every one of the winners as we go along. But once we're done, get over there, have a listen to all of them in full. But here was Chris Dobey after his 4-3 win over Kevin Doets.
To be honest, Peter, look what Peter's won in the game. You can never underestimate him. It was a great game. I watched that game. Luke played fantastic, and he can't be unhappy with that because he did play well. And Peter, I think he was playing brilliant and still managed to change his darts, which is daft. But that's Peter all over. But you can never ever rule him out. And yeah, I think he'll be waiting for whoever, and he'll be ready. And hopefully I can maybe meet him in the final.
Chris Dobey saying what we all feel about Peter, right? He keep changing his darts there, not mixing his words. It's daft. From there, we stayed in the Northeast, but this one was one that we can see it in his face already for anyone that's watching. The Carwin's face here is a little bit sad about this one. And to be honest, I was with you here because that dart for 3-0, that opportunity, that's where this game turned, isn't it, Callan?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it was a huge opportunity, and Rob hits that, and we're probably looking at a different outcome or an even greater comeback than we saw from Rydz. As in, I think that spurred Rydz on, and he seemed to find that extra gear, and I think Rob sort of started to slip from that point as well. His darts weren't going into the trebles often. The doubles were starting to miss, and it felt, even though 2-1 up, it felt like all the pressure was on him from that point, and he just couldn't recompose himself and sort of get back. I know he won the 6th set to force the last set decider, but he just never looked in as much control as he did prior to that. I think, take nothing away from Rydz, I thought he played well. He obviously had the crowd with him, which helps. And yeah, I don't want to say the crowd. He thanked the crowd for helping him and with a chance about his hairstyle and whatever. But obviously, if you don't give both players the same respect, then it is going to affect one player more than the other. Yeah. Not that I'm making excuses for Rob there, because I think Rydz upped his game and he may well have won had it been an empty venue. I don't know, but I think on reflection, Rob Owen, what do they say? Smile because it happened, don't cry because it's over, or whatever that saying is. Look at it from that way, because obviously a month ago he was looking at Q School, and
he wasn't even going to be here. It wasn't even in this
exactly.
Event.
So
to go and do what he's done, secure his card, it's a massive thing for him anyway. And like I say, on another day, that double goes in, and he maybe we see him in the last 8, but wasn't to be today. I don't want to blow my own trumpet too much, but I'm going to do. I did say last night that I thought Callan would just get over the line. I thought he'd dip from what he'd done previously, that Rob would push him all the way, but Callan would nick it. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit for once, because it's not often that I get a chance to do that, as we know with most of our predictions on here. But yeah, the scoring was there for Callan at times. Like the 180 hitting was spectacular again. There were probably more ropey darts than we saw in his game the day before, Anthony. But still, I mean, if this is his B game and he's still averaging 97 and over 43% on his doubles, he's in a pretty good place, isn't he?
Agreed. And all due respect to my Welsh compatriot, I felt that this was a game that was going to be possibly more lopsided based on Rydz's performance coming in, his form, and then the idea that, Owens gets his task done. He has his card. There's a real letdown to that, But personally, from Rob Owen's standpoint, I'm a fan now. Very impressed by his demeanor. I love in his post interviews when he talks about, these are opportunities I have to better my family, and it's just really wonderful. His head is on just perfectly straight, and I'm excited to kind of watch him as things go through 2025. Even though he went up to 2-0 and then missed those darts, it did feel that things started to just catch up to him. We talk a lot when we do CDC games in North America that things might be tight for the first couple of legs, or first couple of sets, and then that experience of Rydz just starts to make a difference as things get on and things get deeper in the match and pressure. But I mean, credit to Owen he then stood back in and got things tied, and we went to a decider. So yeah, I think from a world championship standpoint, you've got to be excited from Owens headed home, right? And then Rydz now has an opportunity to, again, do some really great things. I think he finished in good stead, but I think things need to get tightened up for it to make a serious issue of things post New Year's.
Well, that's it. You made a really good point there about Rob Owen and his character. The fact that he went from having that dart to go 3-0 up to losing 7 legs on the bounce, and all of a sudden he's 3-2 down. And a lot more accomplished players would have crumbled at that point. And the way he fought back to give himself the opportunity to go into the final set, and obviously didn't get over the line, but
certainly
it just was a lot about his character and about what sort of a guy he is.
And to your point, not a lot of people would have blamed him if that was the last stand he made at the end of that third set. If he just didn't win another set, you would have said, well, fair play. He just sort of got off kilter at that miss, and that's it. But he didn't do that, to your point, that he showed some real class and character by getting that match tied. A victory in that little spot there.
Yeah, definitely. But it was Callan Rydz that came through it 4-3, and we heard from him afterwards, speaking to Phil Bars as ever.
Listen, I'm all for the banter, so they can give us it. I can give it them just as much as they can give me. If I meet them individually, I love the banter with them, and I think they won me this game. I didn't win it, through darts. They won me the game, so I've got to thank them. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can say what they said. I'll not cry about it. I've had worse off. Loads of people back home, my best friends, they rip the mick out of us all the time, you know. But listen, it's like I said, the crowd won me that game. I didn't win it. But then averaging 97 in the end, and I felt like I struggled. It shows I'm in a good stead going forward.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable bit of a laugh with the crowd. I think it was. He's got shit hair, but we don't care, I think is what they were singing at him during the.
I went back and I listened to the clip.
Yeah. But fair play to him for taking it in his stride, and like you say, if he feels like he's struggled and he's averaging 97, then he's clearly in a very good place with his game.
And I think that's what we saw with Rydz today, wasn't it? Is that Rob sort of his average stayed similar to what it's been throughout the tournament. What we've seen with Callan is we've seen the highs of 103 and 105 average, and then I want to say the lows because 97 is not low average, but his game drop. And I'd imagine that's what he wants to recapture is the ton plus averages that that has seen him waltz through. And if he does that from here on in, there is no reason he cannot win that title because nobody's thrown sort of anything close to that over a course of an entire match. Yes, we've seen sets where players have hit good averages, but not in a game. So if he can find that form, then he will seriously fancy his chances in this bottom half.
Yeah, definitely. He's still sat with the two highest averages in the tournament. So he's in a really good position. One man that didn't have a very good average today was Ricardo Pietreczko. This was unexpected, I'd say. He's played really well in his first two games, and then we saw this, and this was just
stinker.
Yeah, there's no other way of putting it. It was absolutely god awful. He finished up with a 78 average. Now, I play a very average standard of darts in a local league, and there's people in our league that average 78. Like he might have got beat if he'd turned up on a Wednesday night in South Manchester. So
he was so missing. He should have been on a milk carton.
Yeah, that's it. Like, how's anyone seen this guy? Like, just putting posters up around the arena. Like, it was that bad. And the biggest credit I can give is that Nathan Aspinall didn't get drawn into it and just carried on and played his game, and put up a pretty solid performance without being spectacular.
Even this is another one of those juxtaposition matches that I anticipated to be completely different based on Pikachu's form
being
in
really
a few rounds, right? So this one, if you told me was going to go to distance, I wouldn't have been shocked. And I think to marry that with Aspinall's injuries and his form and all of that, you give me prior Nathan from 2 years ago, maybe, then I don't call it as close. But just with that combination, I assume it's going to be close. And when Aspinall goes up 1-0, then it felt like he had a sense that Pietreczko was just not on his game in it, and then he started to bully him. If I got that right, just that I'm the higher seated guy. I've got the pedigree. You're off. I'm going to push you and keep you on your back heels. And he just did that, and to roll into a 4-0 win. Yeah,
he just never let him in. Like, Ricardo won 2 legs in the entire match, and one of those was in the final set, I think, when it was basically all over anyway. It was.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, he in the first set and the fourth set, he picked up a leg in each, and that's it.
And the leg in the fourth set came after the Aspinall missed 3 darts, tops, 10s, 5s, I think, wasn't it? So
yeah, I think so. It was just really strange, wasn't it, Colin? The way that he didn't seem bothered by the way that he was playing, and he's also almost wanting to be Asp's best mate. It was like if I was up there playing him, because we all know I like Nathan Aspinall. Like, it seemed like that's what Ricardo was like. It's just like high fives, happy for him. Like, just didn't really seem to care.
It was as if he'd got to the last 16 and thought, "Oh, I'm happy now. I don't care what happens there. I'll go up there. I'll take my paycheck and I'll walk off." As in, it's the German fans I feel sorry for, because before the start of the match, they had Polly going around, who are you to watch? Pietreczko. They'll probably have to stay around now and see if he turns up to play again, because that certainly wasn't him on stage today. As in, I don't know. It's very strange thinking, because yes, he averaged 78, but three of those sets he averaged less than 80, and I don't know. This game, I think most people had it as a 7-set thriller, or six or 7 sets anyway. For him to go up there and play that poorly, especially after what we'd seen from him in beating Williams and Van Veen in the previous 2 rounds, as in this was not
quality opponents.
Yeah, exactly. As in both big players on stage as well, big personalities, and Asp is just as big a personality. We know he's loved by fans across the darting world. So for him to just implode into this performance, as in, I don't know, it must be worrying for him. Maybe he wanted to be home for the new year. Who knows? But he'll be shaking his head, thinking, "What the hell went wrong here?"
And Cam, to your point, sorry if I may, Glenn Durrant, kept picking up on that. He was really bothered by his demeanor, and I took it at first as sort of a early resignation, which maybe shouldn't have happened. That, when we talk to players a lot, there's just this mystery of there's days where it's working and there's days where it's not. And it seemed that Pietreczko just had this grin on his face that I can't come up with anything, but it seemed to happen way too early. In set play, in the second set is not the time to, show the fact that you've just completely resigned and you can't hit anything. You can turn that around. But that's how I took it. But you heard Glenn saying, like, I think based on his history of being overly emotional and overly upset. So it's like like Glenn had talked about in commentary, he's got to find a middle ground between stomping his feet and being overjoyed that your opponent's beating the heck out of you.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. And like I say, this isn't the best version of Nathan Aspinall that he's playing. And in set play, we've seen it turn around. We've seen people coming back from 3-0 down in this tournament already. It's not game over by any means. And it only takes you nicking one set to make the other guy be 3 legs away from winning it again. It's not like
it's timing. It's just simple timing, right? Of set play.
Yeah, so I think, there'll be a lot of disappointed German fans out there. Like Colin said, maybe just wanting to get home for the new year. The other thing is, and we have mentioned this a couple of times this week, that the World Championship isn't always about winning it for people. What it is about is the difference it can make to your career and to your year. And we've seen what it's done for Robbo, and we've seen what it's done for other people out there as well, and the opportunity it gives. Ricardo is now in the top 32 in the world with what he's done so far. Was that enough for him? Was that all he wanted? Is maybe that once he achieved what he was coming here to do and get himself into that top 32 and give himself that platform, was that enough for him? And is that why he didn't sort of turn up today?
I feel like with the way this tournament's gone, yes, you've got a certain Mr. Littler still in, you've got a few previous world champions in, but nobody has set the tournament alight. It is there for somebody to win. I don't like last year, both Lukes, you thought they were playing at a level where they would compete the final, as we saw. This year, there is nobody, I don't think yet, who's gone, this trophy's mine this year, and I'm going to breeze through it with 107, 108 average, and nobody touches me. We've not seen that. So for him to sort of, yes, obviously, delighted to be in the top 32, but why rest on your laurels? As in, it's there for somebody to grab, and yeah, I don't know, as in a very, very strange performance from him, and Ash will be delighted because he's had a comfortable afternoon. He can enjoy the New Year celebrations now and then get back, probably feeling quite refreshed because he's not really
not used a lot of energy up today, has he?
Yeah, it's easier than a training session for him.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that the goal of getting into that top 32 will be upon reflection, but that it really shouldn't have had any impact on a match today, right? At all. And Carwin, to your point about that nobody's sort of really grabbed this by the throat, that's what's going to be, and I know we'll get there, but it's going to be so compelling about that January 1st quarterfinal day. That seems to be who's going to come out and make that statement about, like, I am now driven to take these next 3 days and be the champion.
Definitely, yeah. It's exciting.
Well, one man that is still in there and still in with the chance is Nathan Aspinall, and he spoke to Phil after we were done.
No, you underestimate me. All of you. If they'll be honest with you, I never get any respect I'm not going to go all Joe Cullen here, but I mean, I always get written off. Always, no one ever talks about me, and I'm a 2-time major champion. I'm a fantastic dart player. I've been through so much, and I come back fighting, and I keep proving people wrong time and time again. But yeah, it's up to me to go on that stage and prove you a lot wrong, who write me off. But you know, yeah, I'm not. The crowd help, obviously. You know, there's no disputing that the crowd help. But then also flip it. I'm playing for 3,500 people out there. So when I've got a double and they're all willing me to hit that double, it is hard. Gezi says it all the time. When he plays in Cardiff, he hates it. It's the only time people cheer for him, and he hates it. It's a different type of pressure. It's hard. But no, listen, I'll do my thing. You know, I'm past it now. It's been years and years and years of worrying what other people think about me. I don't care anymore. I'm going to go up there and I'm just going to play my darts, win, lose, whatever. I'm just going to enjoy myself. I've got a fantastic life. My family want for now. And I'm making money playing darts, so I'm going to go up there and enjoy myself.
Very interesting.
Well, he was very close to going Joe Cullen there for a second at the start. And one big takeaway is he clearly doesn't watch this show at any point, because I have never once written Nathan Aspinall off. Never once for a second. Blind faith at all times in Nathan Aspinall.
I agree. Well, no, I don't know if a lot of people have written him off. I just think that his best performance this year was a semi-final at the Masters, which is non-ranked. As in,
And
yes,
a long time ago at this point.
Yeah, he's a 2-time major winner, and he's made a few finals. But on current form, I don't think people have written him off. I just don't think he's part of the conversation because his game hasn't been there because of his injuries. And yes, when he is 100% fit, he'll definitely be part of the conversation because he is a top 8 player. Just at the moment, his game isn't there.
Yeah,
and I think it's the same point we had with Joe Cullen. Like, it's all well and good not wanting to be written off, but you've got to prove it on the stage for people to not write you off. And if you've not done that for a while, and yes, Nathan is a 2-time major champion. He's won the UK Open, he's won the World Match Play, the 2 of the biggest that there are. But it's a long time since we've been seeing him really perform well up there. And as much as I will blindly believe in him no matter what, there's a good reason that a lot of people don't.
Yes, it seems too many players want to find a reason to feel victimized or to be off-put without the context of, just as you laid out, there's a lot of players out there that are in serious contention for these events. So if, you know, to be considered maybe the 9th favorite in a field of, you know, nearly 100 is not a slight in that context. Now, of course, they're all competitors. They're all coming in. They're all going to feel that they've got a chance to win things. But yeah, no one's writing off Nathan Aspinall or Joe Cullen right off the bat. As you get deep in the contest, of course, you have to put it into their matchups. But it just feels that they're looking for a reason to feel wronged.
Yeah, exactly that. Before we do go on to the evening session, it would obviously be remiss for me while we have Anthony on not to discuss the performances of the TDDC players in this year's tournament. So we also had Sto Bunce, Leonard Gates, Matt Campbell and Jim Long all in the tournament this year. Obviously, 2 of them winning games up on that stage. Leonard Gates beating Cameron Menzies and Matt Campbell beat...
Yeah, you caught me. I had all my notes for the last show that we did, shooting the bull, but now I'm like, wait a second, I didn't know.
Matt Campbell beat Mensah Sulovic before falling to Ryan Searle. So yeah, just give the floor is yours for a minute. Just have a little chat.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're really proud of all the players that make it over to the World. I think we continue to be proud in overall performances. In that, even in losses, we're competing. To be completely fair, we haven't hid the fact that it's about the time to get more W's. So to have 2 out of the 4 put a W under the belt, that felt good. Certainly Matt had some chances in his second round game that you know, he really had a chance. He competed well. I think, you know, big kudos to Matt when we spoke about things. I believe off the top of my head, it's his 6th straight world championship. So that's definitely some achievement in there. Continue to be the professional that he is. So a lot there. I think for Bunce, when we analyze things, I wasn't sure if the moment got to Stowe. A lot of pressure on Stowe these days, based on he sort of, by his performance in the Grand Slam, set expectation levels really high. Gates is Gates, and I mean that in the most complimentary way, right?
Very much himself.
Exactly. You're going to get a lot from Gates in Super Series or seniors and CDCs and in the world. So, Gates showed up there, and then Gates is going to be hit the pitfalls that he does. And we saw that as well. And then Jim Long, I think, by his own admission, might have been the most disappointing of the four in the form that Jim's been in.
I had him tipped to win that game as well. I fancied that he would come through that against James Harrell, but he just didn't quite show up.
It just didn't fire, just like we talked about with Pietreczko. There's just some days where I'm sure the player is just mystified as to why it's just not going in, where, days before, even the practice board, possibly before you hit the stage, they're going in wonderfully. So, overall, another good year. We're excited, if I may, to just expound a little bit. Obviously, we've got we got some chances now coming with the new Winmar World Masters. We've been given some opportunities. So, things are continuing to, expand and be exciting for CDC players coming out of North America. Yeah,
absolutely. And we'll throw you a little curveball here. Who are we going to see next? Who's going to be the next one on this World Championship stage next year?
Good question. A good question. And those are actually the questions being asked overseas. Who's the next in the pipeline to send us? Oh my goodness! Oh, come on!
Obviously, we've seen Danny Lowby Jr. before as well.
I want to give you players like Jacob McMillan, players who I'm trying to think of. Jacob Womack would be a good player. I think Jacob Womack. All right, I'll give you three: Jacob Womack, Jeff Springer, and Jake McMillan. I'll give you three players to look at that have a real good chance to be on that Ali Pally stage. And my apologies if I left anybody out. No disrespect, but those are three quality dart players who are going to go into 2025 with real determination to make it to London.
So can I ask a quick question? Sorry, Anthony. Over here, we've seen the Luke Littler effect, where children up and down the country of all ages are now picking up darts and joining darts clubs and getting involved. Have you seen a similar boom in young players over in North America get involved, or is it still maybe hasn't quite gone down to the youngsters yet?
To a lot lesser degree, but still, yes, you still do see at some of the open tournaments, younger players come in and they obviously are aware of who Luke Littler is. I think Littler is also, his overall effect has helped from a media standpoint. We do work with the JDC. We've had a relationship with them for years. We help send the teams to Gibraltar. We had our first true academy, JDC official academy, open up in New York City, up in the Bronx. So that was exciting in the last few months. And just to a peek behind the curtain, I've already had conversations behind the scenes with our CEO, Peter Cetera, that I think that's going to be, we're going to shift our focus a bit and really try and dedicate to get those academies, see what we more can do to get the academies up and running so we can hopefully take advantage of that excitement and the moment of players seeing Luke do so well and take advantage of that.
So all positives, and like you say, it brings the future players through, and it just sort of sets up the game for years to come and just keeps growing it as it is.
Absolutely, and we're behind, obviously behind Europe in the young players. You just see some phenomenal 14, 15-year-olds coming out of the UK and Holland, and it's just like these are some scary players. So we've got work to do, but it's what we're 10 years into the CDC, so we're years into the youth, and we'll continue to invest in that.
Well, great to hear. And from there, we'll get back into today's action and the evening session. Now, this was one that I did not for a second have pegged as being a 4-0. I I was really impressed with what we'd seen from Woody coming into this. I even said that I thought that 150-1 was a silly price for him, which now I look silly because after his performance up there today, he just wasn't quite at it. And it wasn't a Pietreczko level of not showing up. He played okay still, but Stephen Bunting just never gave him an opportunity. And I think up until maybe the final set, I'm pretty sure Bunting was well over the 100 mark for most of this game and dropped off a little bit, but he already had it wrapped up by then.
But Bunting's performance today is my performance, one of my performances of the tournament so far, because every time Woodhouse looked like he was going to stage a comeback, Bunting would check a good leg in and kill it off. As in, he never let Luke settle on that stage. And whilst it wasn't the best average, it wasn't the best percentage on doubles, wasn't the biggest 188 or whatever, as an all-round performance, he bullied Woodhouse on that stage today, and he gave him no opportunity whatsoever to get into the game. And I think Bunting has sort of not played his entire hand today, but he's certainly shown that he is serious about potentially getting deep in it, sort of getting that finals day. Because I enjoyed watching him the way he played that game. So I thought he played a blinder and completely deserved of his 4-0 victory.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't sort of the scoreline, but it was the manner of the performance that it was just remarkably professional, and he just did a comprehensive job on Luke Woodhouse here, Anthony.
Yeah, agreed. It feels like everything is starting to come together for Stephen Bunting. On the board, off the board, a persona now, engages with the fans great. And Cam, to your point, I felt the same way about Woodhouse, that it wasn't there for him, but not in a completely lost in the woods way with Pietreczko. It just wasn't firing. And to Carwin's point about it was Bunting also being the top professional, much higher seated, just using that sway of that professionalism to just push the issue and continue on to a 4-1 win, knowing that he's got a potential good opponent in that. Don't give Woodhouse any chance to breathe here. Put the pedal to the metal and keep going. And I think Bunting really may be one of those players to see what we get on quarterfinals day. I think he's one of the players that really could take this opportunity here that is starting to unfold in front of him.
Yeah, it's time to get excited for the Bunting fans, and there are a lot of them about as well. He's one of the most popular players around, and yeah, the way that he just seems to be in a really good place with his game. We did hear from him afterwards as well, so we'll have a little clip from him and then we'll carry on.
It's massive motivation, obviously, and like I said, the crowd's been unbelievable, and long may that continue. I think I've had a successful season. I've played some really good darts, and I've picked up so many fans this year that people have seen a different side of my personality. It's not just about seeing a boring dart player on stage, it's about them seeing what I can do off the hockey as well. The new YouTube channel, TikTok, I try and keep social. If people see me in as the supermarket or a Morrison's, they'll get what they get here. I'm a normal person, and I think that's very important for me. And long may that continue. I don't need to style my hair, I don't need to wear fancy shirts or fancy kecks. What you see is what you get, and for me, if I turn up and play my best game, I can win, and I'm dangerous in any tournament I play in now, which is great. I've won the Masters in February, which is fantastic. That monkey off my back, so to say, and I've come here with all the confidence in the world. Obviously 6 Pro Tour finals, one of the, I think, average-wise through the season, I'm in the top 10. So that shows me that the hard work behind the scenes has been planted. I know that the game's there, and I think, like alluded to before, I'm in the best possible position to win this tournament I've ever been in. So I've still got a lot of long games to go, but I'm willing to put the hours in. I'm willing to make sure that I give myself every opportunity, and that's what I'm here to do.
I really want to see him style his hair.
Yeah, I do. I want to see him style his hair and put some fancy kecks on, is what I want to see.
Yeah, bring it on, Bunting.
But he just gets the all round thing, doesn't he? He understands that you need to be a presence on socials, and not just be moaning like certain players might do on there, and to give people an insight and something that they want to see. We all want to know what our favourite players doing when they're away from the hockey, or how they're preparing, or whatever they might be doing. And I think it's just someone that is really good in that regard. In terms, he seems to have time for everyone as well. We had him a few months ago at our end of season darts presentation night, and he was fantastic then as well. Just so much time for everyone. Nothing was any trouble for him, and he just seems like a really good character, which is why so many people buy into what he does as well.
Yeah, and in this day and age of social media and becoming a property as a player, it bodes well when things get tight for choosing players for the league that shall remain nameless.
Yeah, that's it. The league that shall not be named, as we might put it. Well, I mean, we've talked about it at every point so far. I think he's pretty much in now, isn't he? He's got to be in at this stage.
I think he's nailed on now. Yeah, I think he's done more than enough, and with his new Bunting following, as in it makes sense to have him in there, because he's
exactly right. If you've got players of the same caliber, but one player is going to stand on that stage and have a presence, that's the difference maker. That's what Sky wants to see on that stage.
Exactly that. One man that certainly will be in the travelling circus, it will be Michael van Gerwen. Like, there's not a question on that one. We know that he's going to be there. This was a very, very good performance from him tonight, and almost a statement victory, I'd say, in that I picked the upset last night because I thought if he does what he's done so far and has a couple of really good sets and then he drops off, then Jeffrey will be there to pick up the pieces. And it's pretty much what we saw, except Michael didn't drop off. And even when he got pushed and it got back to 2-2, Jeffrey really turned it on for a couple of sets as well, which we hadn't really seen those levels from him at any point in this tournament up until this point. He'd been consistent throughout, but hadn't really gone to the top levels. Michael didn't fold, and he didn't have any wobbles. And even in the sets that he lost, he still kept it at that same level and was just well over 100 throughout. This was the performance that we've been waiting for from him.
Yeah, exactly. As in, it's been crying out for an MVG comeback, really, because obviously I can't believe we haven't really been talking about him for a year, just because of the presence of the two Lukes. And I think he needed this. Obviously, he believes in himself and he knows he's got the game to do it. But what we haven't seen yet is him deliver that game. And at 2-0 up, I sort of thought, he'll cruise through this game. Jeffrey will be another, I know he's Swedish now, but former Dutch player, who succumbs to the pressure of facing MVG, and they all crumble. But fair play to Jeffrey, he brought it back to 2-2. And I know we see Michael pulling his socks up when he needs to change gear, but it felt like getting back to 2-2 was that, right, I've got a break now, I'll pull my socks up off stage and I'll get the job done. Because when he controlled the sets, they were so one-sided, as in he made it look easy. And I think the tournament needs that this year from Michael, because it's not been the classic maybe we've seen over the last few years. We need some spark somewhere. And hopefully we've still got 3 days of action left, that this might be the start of something bubbling coming to fruition, and we see glimpses of the old Michael going for that third world title.
Yeah, fourth.
Yeah.
It's that long since he won one. It feels like we've forgotten.
It is. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. It was very impressive, this from him, though, and it's timely as well, because he's now got the player that has the two highest averages in the tournament so far, in Callan Rydz, to come up next. He's going to have to carry on with this level, isn't he, Anthony?
Yeah, absolutely. And to Carwin's point, his the 4 sets that he won, it was 12-1 in legs. So the legs that the sets that he won, it was dominating. Yeah, I had messaged people before the match. I felt Michael was going to have a big performance. It felt like this was going to be that big number, dominating performance, and it felt that way after those first 2 sets. Averaged over 100 in each set. So real fair play to Jeffrey de Graaf for standing in there to getting it back to 2-2. But as been noted, Michael, business-like, let's get this back on track. And even to that idea about being in another, the line of young Dutch players who just, they fold a little bit when faced with Michael. Give my brother a shout out. He said Michael owes Jeffrey a meal, because it was like, sorry, pal, that you were the one who had to take this, but it was like somebody needed to get beat tonight, and I needed to make a statement about this tournament. Because I don't know if you can say a 3-time champ and somebody with his CV is an opportunist, but as these things have unfolded the last couple of days, it feels this is that opportunity to get that 4th title, and he knows it.
Yeah, absolutely that. And obviously, the way that you're looking at it now, like, he is now the clear second favourite with title sponsors Paddy Power for this.
He has to clearly be.
Yeah, and looking at the odds, I mean, you look at it now and you've got Luke's the favourite, 11-8 on. Michael van Gerwen at 4-1 as the clear second favourite in this tournament. That's a very big price still, especially when you can get each way money.
That's value. Based on, and we'll go through it, what Luke had to get through tonight, right? I mean, there's value there.
100%. Like, even just to make the final and to rock up against him in the final, you're still making profit on your each way bet at those odds, which is sort of a little bit crazy to me. I didn't expect him to be more than about 2-1 at this stage now, after the way that it's unfolded, but definitely feel there's some value there. And obviously, if you are having a punt on it, as always, make sure you're over 18, make sure you be with gambleaware.org, and also make sure you use Paddy Power, because they're the title sponsors and they're working alongside us this week. But also, there's a lot of good little punts out there. You can have your whatever you want to do to make it fun, whether that's back a winner or whether you want to back 180s, ton pluses, whatever you want. There's everything there. So make sure that you check that out if you are having a little punt on the darts. We heard from Michael after this game as well. Short and sweet again from him, a bit like it was last night. But here we are. Let's listen to him speaking to Phil after today's victory.
Well, I think about what Peter White says. Yeah, Peter White. Every year the Worlds, he talks so much nonsense, do you know what I mean? Peter White, yeah. He's always allowed to talk crap, you know what I mean? No one takes him serious on the tour as well, because he's not allowed the opinion at home as well, you know what I mean?
I can't believe those two.
I did not know what we were going to get there. I hadn't seen that bit before we came on. He's not allowed an opinion at home either, apparently. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us that are allowed to talk crap. Like I do enough of it on here. Let's be honest. But yeah, I wasn't sure that was where we were going to go. But yeah,
I've got one more thing about Michael, if you may. I was really taken aback that on stage he made a point to let us know that he missed his wife and his children. Because I've seen, so many interviews with Michael talk about, and he acknowledged, I mean, he's not going home, but he talks about, the sacrifices you need to make to become a world champion. And a lot of the holidays, he'll stay in London and he won't go home. It's work to do. So it was just real curious as to what, and I mean it respectfully, as to what spurred that on for him to show some family emotion.
Yeah. It's not something that we hear from him or sort of, there's a few players that will hear it from now and then, but again, for most of them, it's business, it's work time, and not so much about the family. But yeah, he was, obviously, whether it is just it's that time of year, obviously, I don't know whether he's been home for Christmas or not. I assume he probably has been, but then obviously he's now staying in London through the rest of the tournament. So
I feel like Michael's priorities are changing as well, where once being the global domination of darts was number one on his list, I don't think it is anymore, because he knows his game isn't at the level where he will beat every other player in every tournament on every occasion. It feels like there'll be times when he has to play second fiddle and he has to lose, and I think because of that now he sort of sees maybe family time and seeing his children grow up and what have you is as much of a priority maybe as global domination is.
And personally, things change. I know, I don't know how old his children are now, but things start to change when they get to be school age and they have events. And if you're a traveling working dad, it starts to grind that I've missed this, I've missed that. So years ago, it was okay to say I'm not going to be home, but now when your child is asking you if you're going to be home, it's a little tougher to say no, Daddy won't be home.
Yeah, that's it. When they are younger, the famous Mr. Phil Bars is in the back end. He's just put the Littler clip in for us, which is great. He's just dropped in the 7 and 3 now, his kids. So they are of that age now where certainly the older one, they have those sort of things going on where it's things you don't want to miss out on as well as a parent. And yeah, it's for him, yeah, obviously, like I say, priorities change a little bit, but this week it's all business and they're going to have to
if anyone thinks that his mind is not going to be on straight come January the 1st, they're sorely mistaken.
That's it. Someone else whose mind had to be on straight tonight, Luke Littler came through a hell of a battle with Ryan Joyce in the last game of the night. I sat here last night.
We all just truly give a standing ovation to Ryan Joyce.
This game was fantastic from start to finish from both of them. Like, this was absolutely everything that we hoped it would be. We saw Littler tested. We saw Joyce put up the best performance that he possibly could. And it was just a great watch for everyone involved in it. I stand by everything I said last night that it was buying money just to back Joyce to win a set at 1-2. It was ridiculous value, and even 6-4 for him to win 2 sets. Now, I hope everyone did listen and got something out of it. And if you did, just send me 10% my way. I'm only joking. But this was just a really good back and forth game, and it always felt like Littler was ahead, but he couldn't stay ahead, and Joyce just kept going back to him. It was almost like sort of the best horse race you've ever seen between two proper purebred chasers just running against each other, and one's jumping slightly ahead over the verse, but then he's getting caught up again on the flat and then coming ahead, and that's sort of what it felt like throughout this game. But Littler outlasted him, and he got there in the end, Anthony, didn't he?
He certainly did, and this is a case of listening to the people who watch closely the Pro Tour and who compete on it. In that, from the outside, if you don't know who Ryan Joyce is in depth, you come into it that Littler is gonna have command of the match, But when you listen to those people who have to compete against Joyce, week in, week out on the tour, and how tough of a competitor he is, and how strong he is on his doubling, and if you give him a chance, he's going to take those opportunities. We saw that in full display tonight. Like you said, he wouldn't go away when opportunities were given. He took it, and it was just like, to that earlier point of so many things play out in the World Championship, money for the tour, opportunities. This was another thing where Ryan Joyce, as a player and as a commodity, will be able to build on this going forward into 2025, even though a loss, a win for the overall effort of what Ryan Joyce is trying to accomplish as a professional.
Yeah, he just looks so much more comfortable on that stage now. And like I say, it's one of these occasions where even in a loss, his stock's gone up again. It's like almost like the boxer that's given it his all and fought right to the end and pushed someone really close and maybe lost a split decision, and it was a bit questionable on the cards, but he comes out of it and the next opportunity is bigger.
Makes the next fight and the next pay-per-view and so on. And those are the things where, Ryan Joyce raised eyebrows tonight.
Yeah.
The irony of this result is that when people tell us winning the bull is all important, you had 7 sets.
All of them went against the throw.
All went against the throw. But no, I have to agree. I think we all knew for Joyce to be competitive, he needed to ping that double 16 or double 8. He needed to be ruthless on the double, and he did. And yes, Littler once again showed. I'm saying this, but he's averaged 103, but he showed frailties in his game, and that he's probably feeling more pressure than last year, obviously, because we've lost the world number one. He's been tipped as a favourite to win the world title, and that carries a lot of weight and a lot of expectation, and he's still only 17. But even though he's showing these frailties, he's still winning matches, and he's still... It doesn't look like it bothers him, even though maybe inside he's probably a bit like a duck at the moment. Where above the water, everything looks swimmingly, but below the feet are frantically.
And the legs are going,
yeah. But we've seen a game there tonight where both players have come out with a better pedigree than they went in to the game with, to be honest. And yeah, fantastic performance on both.
Yeah, it was just, I thought, like, the scoring power, it just gives him so many opportunities, and he's only ended up 35% on his doubles. Now, there's a lot of people in the chat that are a lot sort of better on the stats than I might be, and might know what his percentage was throughout the tournament last year, but I imagine it was higher than 35% and sort of comfortably higher than that. So there is that frailty. He's not as good on his doubles, and like I said, that might just be the occasion of having to come and repeat from what he's done last year, where he's never had to do that at any event yet. He's not had to go and do what he's done before. Tommy's asked in the chat there, did he have a tumblers out? No tumblers out, but he didn't have a checkout higher than 68. Now, partly that's down to the scoring power because he doesn't give himself that many opportunities at it.
And that was discussed in commentary.
Yeah, but it felt like last year, and in events earlier this year, like it felt like those big outs when he does leave them, he was still taking them. And I don't even feel like, I think he maybe missed tops for one, which could have sort of his first dart to win the match, I think, and that's the only one I can really remember where he got close to one.
It's just incredible that in 12 months he's made us expect for him to seem impervious. Right. Yeah. It does, like you both said, it doesn't feel like there was some down moments, but you look down at, and he threw 103 average, he threw 14 180s, but yet you feel like, it could have been better, or he had weaknesses, and it's just astounding at the level of expectation that he set for himself.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think it's what he's set for himself by what he's done so far. And I think it's also the fact that what we're seeing now, especially this year with the way it's gone, and there's so many different winners of events and people going deep in events, nobody's scared of anyone anymore. And last year, if he'd rocked up there and played like he did tonight, you'd have seen opponents just sort of crumble and not be able to do it. But now, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter whether it's Luke or whether it's Michael or whether it's the other Luke.
It's astounding.
No one gives a shit anymore. They all just
no, because they nearly all have 100 average game in their locker. That at one time or another it could come out. It's astounding.
And I think as well, because everybody's seen Luke Littler's game in this World Championship, he's probably come up against opponents who wouldn't be fazed by it. Sort of Ryan Meikle in the first round, or in the second round, sorry, he expected to be obliterated, and he put a good show up for himself. Yeah. Ian White, he's been around too long to sort of be fazed by a 17-year-old kid doing what he does. And Ryan Joyce, whilst he may not have been around for that long, he feels like he's sort of a northeast. He's sort of a real grit to him and a real determination. And he sort of said in his interview, was it yesterday or the day before? I'm losing track of days now. But he sort of said,
all into one at this time.
Yeah, exactly. It's one long day at the moment. But he said, I have to bring my A game or whatever, or it might go horribly wrong. He did, and he really tested Littler. So yes, he's won quite comfortably up till tonight, and I think he's averaging over a ton for the tournament. But it feels like he's had to work for it as well, and it's not been easy.
Yeah, it has. Is it this perception of if he's not going double or using the bullseye like crazy and asking the crowd to come on and singing and dancing, that if he's concentrated, it almost feels like he's in trouble or he's not in a good spot.
Yeah, we sort of expect that he doesn't have to work for it. Like he's just can just do it.
Thank you. Yes,
it's not the way that sport or life
physical
works,
when he has to work for it, but yet he still accomplishes it. He gets through it, but it's like, well, that didn't seem as easy as it normally does.
Yeah, and we heard from him afterwards. So we'll hear from him now, and then it is time to really sort of get involved in the chat room, like you have been doing anyway. I've apologised that we've got Anthony on today, and I've completely missed putting anything up from the chat room at any point. But predictions is when we'll definitely throw a lot of your things up on the screen as well, and obviously read them out. But first, Luke Littler speaking to Phil afterwards.
It probably, obviously, it clears it, but there's Nathan Aspinall in the way. And I'll be honest, I fell asleep for the whole evening session last night. I think it was like 7 o'clock till about 2 in the morning. I had a sleep, and then I checked my phone. I was like, checked Instagram. Peters won. I was like, really? And then I just stayed up for a bit, and then obviously I got my head back down. But yeah, I missed the whole game. I think there would have been expectation no matter what. Even if Luke got through, and obviously I've got through tonight, I think all eyes would still be on me. But yeah, Nathan stands in the way.
He just takes it all in his stride, doesn't he? Like he just doesn't.
I like that subtle. I like that subtle. Peter won.
Yeah.
just.
I also think that's the thing of when you're 17, you can just sleep at random times of the day and just stay up until, and then get up at 2 and probably have 4 hours on the Xbox and then go back to bed at that point.
I wonder though, has somebody told him whether he was asleep or not? Tell them he was sleeping, and because that way you don't get, it doesn't become a thing that you watched it or you didn't watch it. It's just concentrate on your game, because if you win all your games, you become world champion. It's as simple as that. It doesn't make a difference who else plays when or whatever. As long as you keep winning, you become world champion. So I think, again, for a very young man, he's showing maturity beyond his age, not to get dragged into any sort of serious chat about his main rival for the tournament losing, and that he just concentrates on his own game. And fair play to him and the team around him.
It's almost like, I feel like he's just the way that he takes everything into his stride. He's almost like Cole Palmer-esque, that nothing, just like doesn't acknowledge that anything's important. Like just nothing matters, and just gets on with it, and allows him to just perform his best under pressure, because it feels like he doesn't recognize the moment.
No, even at 17, he's been doing this now for so long. In relation to his age, nearly half his life, he's probably been playing in high-level competitions. Meaning, even if that's 11-year-olds playing against each other, it's still the championship at whatever level he was at. So he continually has been put in situations to where there's a spotlight on him.
Yeah, very good point from Jonathan here. He had 105.2 average over the match on all legs that Joyce threw first in, which that as much as anything, one credit to him for how well he's played there on Joyce's throw. But for Joyce to take it as deep as he did when he had to put up with that on his own throw the entire game is remarkably impressive. Got another comment there from, I think, someone you might know.
Funny accent from that guy.
Yeah, I think he might be a little bit more used to it than we might be, to be honest. But
no one's used to this mouth.
And so it is time. We are now into predictions, and we're into predictions. Well, it is for tomorrow now, because at least for us, it's predictions for tomorrow now, because it is. We are now on to the 31st of December in the UK, but we are predictions for the first darts of 2025, and we start off with. Actually, I don't know what we start off with. I haven't.
Well, before we even get to the matches, though, just how interesting is it, though, that you look at 4 separate quarterfinals. 3 of the 4 have prior world champions, but the one that doesn't have a world champion is going to be the one that they will showcase 4th on Wednesday night. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. That's going to be the last one on, isn't it? Yeah, we haven't got timings yet for when the games are going to be. So I'm going to
You would assume,
make it up.
I can't see them putting Michael in the afternoon, so it's going to have to be.
Oh,
I'm going to start off with Peter Wright against Stephen Bunting, followed by Chris Dobey Gerwen Price, and then Michael against Callan, followed by Luke against Nathan.
No, I think it's Dobey Price, MVG Rydz in the afternoon, and then Wright Bunting opens the evening, followed by the one not featuring a world champion.
There we go. Yep,
Interesting.
Right, there we go. Yeah, so Flash Score, I haven't updated it yet, and I hadn't checked anywhere else. So so Dobey Price to start, MVG Rydz, Wright Bunting, and then Little Aspinall. There we go then. So as the guest,
that's very interesting to me. I just it goes back a little bit to where Van Gerwen is in the power structure. Do you think he would have ever really? I mean, it comes down to the PDC, but we know better than that. That players have to play,
to the
right?
broadcast.
But how that he would play in the afternoon? Very interesting.
Yeah, I would. I'll be honest with you. I had that picked as an evening game myself. But yeah, let's quickly because Daz has asked in the chat what price is Peter now. Let's just run through the odds with Paddy Power, the title sponsor. Luke Littler the favourite at 11-8 on. Michael Van Gerwen 4-1 second favourite. Stephen Bunting 10-1 still you can get on the bullet, which I think is not a bad price whatsoever. Gerwen Price 11-1. Callan Rydz and Peter Wright both at 12-1. Chris Dobey 14-1. And as expected, up against the odds-on favourite for the tournament, Nathan Aspinall 28-1. And then, so we'll start with then. So obviously, Chris Dobey against Gerwen Price. As you are the guest on the show for tonight, Anthony, you can go first.
Oh no, you're going to put me on. Okay, so
we're not that generous on here. You get thrown straight in at the deep end.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to either upset Mr. Evans or Mr. Simpson. Oh boy. To be fair, I do feel Chris Dobey is not finished on that Ali Pally stage, and I'm going to tip him 5-3 over the former world champion Gerwen Price.
Owen, are you going to go against that? I don't think you will, but
I think it might come down to doubles, and because I feel like I've seen enough from Price to see his head's in the right place at the moment. I think we might get a last set thriller and Price's quest for a second world title sees him make the semi-final. After tipping him to lose in the last 16 against Clayton, I'm now doing a full U-turn and thinking he could go all the way. Is it?
Sticking your mast.
Yeah, and I'm down to one Welshman now, so I can't not back him. So
and we all respect it.
Yeah, I was trying to tease you by saying that you wouldn't go against what Anthony had said, but you were always going to go with the Welshman.
Sorry, yes.
So you've got Price 5-4, Anthony's got Dobey 5-3. I'm in the Gerwen Price camp as well. I think he's sort of warmed nicely into this, and he's sort of performed a little bit better in each game as we've gone along. And what we saw at the start of the game against Johnny Clayton, where he sort of fell off after the second break, it felt like he lost his edge a little bit and that he got a little bit too friendly because it was Johnny Clayton and that he didn't want to give it too much. I don't think we see any of this. I think he keeps on. We see a lot of roars. We see a lot of him giving it the big one to the crowd. And I think that keeps his level up. I think Dobey will push him, but I've got it 5-3 to Price, slightly wider.
And I don't disagree with the Price evaluation. I do think the Iceman is back to some regard. He's going to come fierce, and he's going to take a lot to stop him.
In the chat room, we've got Patrick has got it 5-3 for Dobey. He's with you there, Anthony, as is all boxed up. Daniel's with me, 5-3 to Price, but Dobey to miss chances along the way. We like a detailed prediction. 5-2 for Jamie to Price, 5-3 Dobey for Robbie. Jonathan's got it 5-2 for Price. Price 5-4 for Lee. 5-3 Price for Bob, which means that will be right because Bob gets it right more often than not. Price 5-2 for Elephant Man, and Daz has got it 5-4 Dobey with sudden death extra legs. That could be a serious, but I mean, sign me up for that because that's going to be a great watch if it does do that. And then Joe has got 5-3 for Gezi. Go on the boy. One more latecomer. John's in there as well. 5-3 for Price, and then we've also got 5-4 Gezi and an absolute thriller for Murder. Don't know. May have butchered that. Next up, then, I've forgotten who's next. Michael van Gerwen in the next game up against Callan Rydz. Yeah, did not have this pegged as an afternoon game, especially with the way Callan Rydz has played as well. To be honest, you'd think this could be an absolute blockbuster. Carwin, your turn to go first. Where are you going on this one?
Big question is, have I seen enough from Michael tonight to convince me? I think Rydz's smile and the fact he's become a bit of a crowd favourite now, and obviously, as it calls it, banter. He seems to like them taking the piss out of his hairstyle. I think Rydz wins. I don't know why. I've got a feeling Rydz wins 5-3, and I think I know MVG may have wanted to play in the afternoon, but I don't think it agrees with him. It shakes his body clock, and yeah, Rydz gets the job done. 5-3.
Yeah, interesting about Van Gerwen does not like the afternoon, and I'm still surprised at that. But as I look at it, though, the choice to replace that though is Right Bunting, which feels box office, feels showy, feels evening, right? So I see from their regard that in terms of picks, I do expect a good performance out of Rydz again, but I think Michael is going to continue to just creep up in form, and I've got him 5-3 in sets over the Riot.
We're split in here as well. I'm assuming we'll be pretty split in the chat room on this one as well. All boxed up's got it 5-4 for Rydz, 5-3 for Rydz for Daz. Lee's got it 5-3 Van Gerwen, as Patrick's 5-4 for Van Gerwen, and Jamie's got it 5-2. Rydz probably got too much respect for him. Possibly it can come into play in this sort of a game. Rydz 5-1 for Elephant Man. He thinks he's got no respect for him whatsoever, and he's just going to roll through him. Also, we've got MVG 5-3 for Jonathan, 5-3 again for Robbie, 5-2 for MVG for Bob, and 5-2 MVG for Murder. But Rydz hits a 9. Well, love to see it. Someone did ask, Lee asked earlier on. I'm basically just padding for time here while I decide which way I'm going to go on this game. Do we see another 9-darter before the tournament finishes? I'll leave that to you two while I decide what I'm doing.
I say yes.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if Luke Littler meets Gerwen Price at some point, which can only happen, I think, in one round, we see a 9-darter.
I think we might see a couple if we see that. And then John said predicted text on his. I'm assuming is that Rydz then? If it's gone predicted to Furs, I'll give you he's gone 5-3 Rydz. I like the upset here as well. I've decided. But with a caveat that if it goes all 9 sets, that Rydz crumbles in the final set and gets beat. But I think he plays as well as he has done so far and wins it 5-3. Gets 4-2 up, loses the set, but then gets off the line.
But he can't let it get to the last set.
No, if he gets the last set, I think Michael will just find that extra gear and that little bit of extra experience to get over the line. But then we are into the evening session, and Peter Wright against Stephen Bunting. Anthony, your turn first on this one. Which way are you going?
I'm going for a really solid Bunting performance, as I talked about. I feel like everything's coming together for Stephen. So I just gave Peter Wright 2 sets. I think the performance against Humphreys was it for him for the 2025 World Championship. Like that's his victory. Well, I think if he has a good performance to, talk about the league that will remain unnamed, as much to everyone's chagrin, I think that win over Humphreys puts Peter back in that conversation. So maybe with a good performance that steadies that, but I don't think he's going to get the win. So I'm going to go 5-2 to Stephen Bunting.
5-2 Stephen Bunting for Anthony. Carwin, which way are you going?
Yeah, I think to add to what you said about that league we shall not name, I think Wright needs to win this game to guarantee his place, and I don't think he does. I'm with you on this one, Anthony. I think he played his final in the manner of way in which he defeated Luke Humphreys, and I don't think he backs it up. I feel like that's probably the flash in the pan we see from Wright this year, and that his average drops against Bunting. And I just think Bunting, if he can bully Wright like he bullied Woodhouse tonight, it could be over quite quickly. But I think Wright gets a couple of sets. Yes, I think I'm with you as well. 5-2 Bunting in a quite a comfortable win for him.
But I think that's a real fair assessment to say that a win, if Peter Wright can get the win over Bunting in a primetime performance, that's, as we talked about, gets the attention of Sky executives.
Yeah, I think if he makes the semi-final, I think he's probably in at that point. We're all going to concur on this one. I think that the massive thing that Peter Wright did, other than play really well the other night, was absolutely getting Luke's head.
Mm-hmm.
Like these comments beforehand, and then turning down shots at the ball, setting up instead, saying you can't hit this checkout. I don't think any of that works on Stephen Bunting. I just don't think he's the sort of character that will even entertain getting involved in it. And I think that is going to be a big difference in this game. And I think Wright's level probably drops slightly from what we saw against Humphreys, and that Bunting just stays at that same level, if not ups it slightly as well. And I'm with you, 5-2 as well. So very much all in the same corner here.
Yeah,
so
I think
guaranteed it goes 9 sets.
Yeah, nine sets. Peter Wright wins. Nothing's Europe.
Take it to the bank.
Yeah.
And I agree on your assessment about Stephen being able to, if Peter says anything in it, and following up Stephen, I should say, will deflect. Will not wade into it. He'll compliment Peter Wright and just sort of deflect it and let it go away.
In the chat room, Patrick's with us. He's got Bunting 5-2 as well. Then we've got a couple for Wright. Daniel and Robbie have got 5-4 and 5-2 respectively. All What's Up's got it 5-3 Bunting. Wright 5-2 for Jack, and Wright hits a 9. There's plenty of us then that think there's going to be a 9 before before the end. Though to be fair, if you are hitting 9s in this tournament, more often than not you end up losing the match. So Wright 5-2, we've got Jamie. Isn't he a bit of a boy play for Bunting? I don't know. Recent games between themselves have been pretty split, to be honest. Bunting 5-3 for Joe, and Wright 5-3 for Lee. Bunting 5-4 with 4-2 in the final set. Wright 5-4 for John. He's gone with probably the right prediction considering what we all went for. 5-2 if Wright uses the same set as last night. Which one though? Because he used 2 different ones last night. He may even use 3. Who knows? Man's got it 5-4 Bunting with a final leg thriller. That means we probably won't get Luke's game until about sort of 11:30 then at that point, UK time. Snakebite 5-3 for Bob. He thinks he's going to carry on with how he's been doing. Murder's got it Bunting 5-3, secures in the Premier League spot if not already. And he's put that in twice. I've clicked it twice. Bunting 5-3 for Tommy, and Bob reckons whoever wins in the Premier League. It could both be, to be honest, if Peter Wright wins.
Yeah, I think Bunting's there. I think.
Yeah, even if we think he's in, as we've established, but if he is on the bubble, I can see that being a setup as well. Winner of this gets in.
And then we come on to the final game of the night, and the first evening session of 2025 ends with an absolute cracker between Luke Littler and Nathan Aspinall. Stablemates, practice partners, all of that beforehand. Luke's generally had the sort of the edge over him when they've played. I think he might have had the edge over him in every game except one, I think, that they've played since Luke's been in the PDC. But Carwin, which way are you going on this one?
I actually think this is the perfect game for Littler to start 2025. And Aspinall, don't want to disrespect him, but
You won't do that on my show. I'll kick you off.
no, and Aspinall not firing on all cylinders and not quite at the races. I think he pushes Luke, but I don't think he gets over the line. I think Luke wins. Oh, I think Luke wins 5-2, but the scoreline doesn't reflect the game, and that it's a better battle than the Asp gets credit for in the scoreline.
Fair enough. I've just been looking at it as well. This will be the first time that they've ever played in anything over more than a best of 11 legs, which I think maybe lends itself more to Nathan Aspinall. But which way are you going, Anthony?
Oh boy, I may be in trouble here. I feel the wheels completely come off for Nathan. I think he's been struggling to keep it together, and I mean, again, respectfully. But then on the other side, Littler starts to get everything right, even though 103 and 14 180s. How much is there wrong there? But whatever we sense today gets fixed a bit in the quarterfinals, and I've got Luke taking it 5-1.
5-1.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, we have seen from Nathan that every time they do play each other, he wants to sort of teach him a lesson and sort of give it the big one and beat him, but he hasn't been successful in doing it very often. It's not often that I do this, but I'm going to go against Nathan Aspinall as well. I just think I'd love to pick the upset, and I will be sitting hoping for the upset. But just special, isn't he, Luke? Like he has got gears that just nobody else has. And I think he might just, the scoring stage of it might just be too much for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we know that Asp can do it, and we know that he can score heavily when he's on it, but we haven't seen it for a while now. And I think this is where he comes undone. But I think he wins 3 sets. Well, I think 5-3 Littler, and I just can't see any more than that. Yeah, Jamie just said, I've got to eject myself. I'm going to kick myself out of my own show at this point. I'll just sit in the background and just steer everything. In the chat room, then, where are we going? I can't believe I've done that. I've absolutely gone against everything that I stand for. Anyway, Daniel has got Luke winning 5-1. Robbie's got it 5-2. 5-2 for Allbots up as well. And for Lee, 5-3 for Patrick. 5-3 for Tommy, but an absolute cracker. I think it will be good. I think Nathan will raise his game and will play well, but I just think Luke might just be slightly better. Daz, you don't get away with that in here. Not either way. You've got to give us a prediction.
Right off the fence.
Littler 5-1 for John. 5-2 for Joe. Asp 5-3 for Jamie. Yes, there we go. We've got an Asp fan in there. Jamie's gone for him. I was going to have to change my prediction if no one else had at this point. Littler 5-2 for Jonathan and 5-2 for Murder. Bob 5-4 for Asp. Oh, when Bob goes for Asp, that's when I start getting excited because he generally gets it pretty spot on. Littler 5-2 for Yelstrike. And then anyone else in there before we end?
Daz has got off the fence, I think.
Yeah, Jack's got it 5-2 for Luke, and then Daz has gone for 5-4 for Nathan as well. There we go. He's trying to get himself in my good books after I gave him on there.
I think if we get a 5-4, though, it's going to be an absolute belter of a game because the Asp is going to find levels we haven't seen from him in a long time.
He would have to go all 9 sets. Yeah.
Oh, he's going to have to be by that. He beat him once in the Premier League, I think, didn't he? And I think he averaged about 105 that day over about 9 legs, which he's going to have to do that over 9 sets if he's going to beat him 5-4. So, yeah, we're in for an absolute thriller if that happens. And that's where we end for today. And the final Fallout Bar of 2024. Thank you, everyone, for being around for all of them so far. We're not done yet. There are a couple more to come as we go through the quarterfinals and semi-finals nights. Obviously, not one after the final, as always, because that will be covered on the live lounge the week afterwards. But thank you, everyone, for all your participation and making this show what it is over the sort of the last couple of weeks as we've gone through this, and obviously over all the ones throughout the year as well. Thank you, Anthony, for joining us today as well. And Happy New Year to everyone. Enjoy it all. And we will see you on the other side on New Year's Day. Thank you, everyone. And good night.